heavy on the xylophone.
Lots of xylophone, lots of aggressive strings. And you know what
True.
else has a lot of aggressive brass? This episode of Star Trek Trek Trek. Welcome, everybody. We are now reviewing... this is Star Trek Trek Trek, our ongoing... No, I've cocked this one right up, haven't I? Sorry, I'm trying to adjust cat cam at the same time. Welcome to Star Trek Trek Trek, our ongoing review and journey through the Star Trek episodes and universe. We are now reviewing the Corbomite Manuever. 50 minutes of intense starship action aboard with hot, slick cast and crew members from the 60s. Yeah.
I was really worried where you were going to be going there.
Yeah, I didn't. I kind of started that sentence without knowing how I was going to end it. But yes,
You
we have
started
just.
with hot and slick, and I was like, please don't.
There was a lot of that in the dialogue, which was most of this episode. Otto, you got some things to say.
This episode, like I could write the plot like in my palm, like with a Sharpie.
I don't think you'd even need a palm.
And fit it all in there. All right, I gotta, memory alpha's our thing. Even the final draft of the script, dated May 3rd, 1966, was quite different. The character of Uhura was not present. Dave Bailey was the comm officer, and he did not flip out as he does in the episode. Many bits of character building were also absent. There was no flypaper, chess, or poker analogies. Kirk simply decided to bluff Balok out of the blue. There were also no reference to A, B, C, X, Y, Z, including Kirk's salad. It's like, well, then what the hell did they originally write? Because this already had zero script. If you take all that other stuff out, what is left? Like, and
there's just a lot of, and then a lot of the script direction is just reaction shot, reaction shot, reaction shot, reaction. It's like
this episode needs to go in the Smithsonian as like an example of how to stretch your script into something, because we all enjoyed watching it, but there was no plot to the point where we're watching the coda like the second time as they get tractor beamed by a little ship and pulled through it, like it's strange that it happened twice, kind of joke. And Idol finally came to the realization. He's like, wait, didn't this already happen? I'm like, yes, there's no script here. They just keep running the same thing. It's like they have, and Stars, you're talking about reaction shot. It's like, it is so light on script. I want to say it doesn't matter. It does. Like, you start to notice it, like, actually nothing's happening, but it's still an enjoyable journey along the way.
I feel like this episode benefited from there's no script, but they played a lot more human moments, a lot more interaction between the cast, especially in the first half. There's a lot of things that make the sort of lack of plot actually palatable by having sort of like the tension scale up. Like I say, they did the same thing twice, but the first time they did it was like, okay, this is a tense moment. There's some things happening. I feel like I'm engaged with the rhythm of this plot, even if there's not much happening. Sorry, go on, Dan.
Yeah, this is a little bit more of a, like, the suspense wasn't necessarily in the sci-fi in this episode. That was the frame of it, but the suspense and the drama was really the military side of things. About talk about promoting Bailey too soon, and about whether or not Yeoman Rand had a role. I think there was a little bit of a line in there about that. There's so little, and so let's look at this show's contemporary at the time, right? Lost in Space. So, this show took everything to the stars, and so they really wanted to feature the starship. Whereas, you've got the other sci-fi of the era, which is Monster of the Week, Boots on Ground. It's basically one long away mission. So I don't blame them for wanting to go all in on the cool ships, the Enterprise and the Fesarius and the Borg Cube. They really want and lingering for a long time as people switch channels on the bridge and the cool shots of space, because it's, I think, what's going to hook viewers in very early on. But they had neglected, I think, to really put a lot of the Star Trek in this episode. But again, we're looking in retrospect through having gone through all the series and all the years and years of us enjoying these characters and the show, and I think it's a little bit unfair to judge it for not being great Star Trek, even though it's eminently watchable and a great bit of character work.
Oh, hold on. Not to accuse you of straw manning, but has anyone actually said that this is not great Star Trek?
I'll say it right now. It's not good Star Trek.
Okay.
I'm actually going to have to come at you, Dan, and I get to disagree
Okay.
with you.
Okay.
While it is
In
not
the
a heavily,
recorder! Sorry.
um, while it is not a heavily plot-based episode, like I would say that all of the essential parts of Star Trek are here. There is conflict with an alien culture that is notably different to ours, and that Clint Howard alien is a weird little guy who looks kind of like a human baby, but he's got like the weird like voice, and he's evidently capable of operating this entire ship by himself. There's a ridiculously huge ship that makes no sense to our like petty human understanding. There's a lot of human drama. There's a lot of understanding of human nature and what makes humans tick and what makes them like freak out. There's a lot of examination of just of like of why go to space, like the why would you want to explore, and the fact that like they open the episode and it's all about right at the boundaries of what like we know about. We're star mapping this for the very first time, and I think there's nothing more Star Trek than that, really. Like, I think they go to a lot of effort to set up. We're in uncharted space. We don't have anyone around to help us, which is the most fucking Star Trek trope in the fucking universe. Um, and it's just us, our wits, our intelligence, and our collective like brain power, essentially here. But this being 2S is obviously Kirk is the hero. Um, but I was kind of astounded by how much of the blueprint is already here. Like, yeah, you can make fun of the fact that a lot of the stuff is going to become de rigueur, like, oh yeah, commander reaction shot and a lot of like padding for ship effects. But you already get a ton of alien character needs to learn more about human culture because it reveals an essential truth. You've got, senior officer bonds with younger officer over, something he sees in him, and then like the tension between expectation and reality. Like, half of that dialogue from like the middle of the episode, you could have just like ripped and put into Wrath of Khan, and it wouldn't have been out of place.
Yeah, that was quite effective.
By
So
the
I
way,
get a
there's a lot
rebuttal
of-
before I concede the floor. I get a rebuttal.
Yeah.
I want to
Go for it,
note
yeah, go
that this was
Okay.
Star's first time watching this, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So Stars, I absolutely agree with you. The last 5 minutes of the episode was good Star Trek. So we faulted Terra Nova for having given away the plot at the end of the very first act. Before the opening credits rolled. And so this episode suffers the exact opposite, where we didn't actually get to anything interesting until the very end of the show. And I certainly wanted to know more and see more and find out about this alien race, and they just completely dumped it. Like, we got there, never featured him again, never brought him back, never became part. They were the first Federation, never became a part of the actual Federation. So I feel like you're right that there's some fine tuning, and they hadn't quite settled in on exactly where the good TV was. It was here. It just there was nowhere near enough of it. Okay.
Well, see, that's the thing is, I think that there is like a tension, and it's what it is. It's which side of Star Trek do you come down on that you enjoy more? Do you enjoy high concept sci-fi that is all about the exploration of the unknown, which is the motion picture? Or do you come heavily down on I care about human interaction as framed through a space naval, dichotomy with a heavy emphasis on learning about yourself and your character through adversity, which is the Wrath of Khan. And that's kind of traditionally been the two ends of the spectrum that everything kind of falls between. Like, there's obviously a ton of variation on there, but if you want to have a philosophical argument about what Star Trek is, it varies between these 2 points. And this is very much way more on the Wrath of Khan side of things than on the motion picture. But I don't feel like either of that makes it any less Star Trek. It's just a different kind than, say, something like Darmok. Darmok is a completely the other end of the spectrum. Like, but I would say they're both good episodes of Star Trek, and especially because while you may not spend a lot of time with Balok in person, you do still get a decent amount of him over the intercom. You get the jockeying between him and Kirk over the view screen, just like in Wrath of Khan. And just like how they always go on about, your reactions to us tells us everything we need to know. Everything about how Balok reacts to the humans and vice versa tells you a lot about the two cultures, and especially the early bits where they're dealing with the probe rather than the full ship. It tells you a lot about, even though they don't have the name set down yet as Starfleet, United Earth is committed to I don't fire until I absolutely have to, which is already kind of a more enlightened view of the future and of humanity than you might get from, say, shows of the time, or the more Western inspired stuff that, obviously this draws from. So
Sure.
that's kind of where I fall on that.
Idly, you look so amused. What are you thinking about, buddy?
I just wondered how you're doing, Otto. These guys are having a great debate there.
I'm doing great. No, well, okay. I gotta jump in too because this is a fun one. I'll speak up for Shy, who I don't even need to ask him to know he loves this episode. For the reasons you said, Stars. We watched what was it? Was it Lonely Among Us?
Yeah.
The early TNG where it's like he we panned it for being too talky. He's like, no, I love that kind of sci-fi. I love when they're like early season adversarial, and they're like we're exploring people instead of space. So I I'll speak for him and he can tell me if I'm wrong. I think he would love this episode. Uh, and Dan, I panned it for having no plot, but I still think that was really harsh to say nothing interesting to the last 5 minutes. There was a lot of interesting stuff here. Like
There
it may
was,
not
but
have been giant plot relevant stuff, but I think it was still interesting.
no, I agree, and we were all in on the drama for sure. We enjoyed the character development and the interpersonal stuff, and that's great. You get that with any show. It The only thing that made this Star Trek was that they happened to be in a room with some flashing buttons on it. But this was, I think, really kind of derivative of a lot of the World War II, and you can even reach back to Wild West shows at the time, your Bonanza and your Gunsmoke, where it's just a charismatic leader who's trying to get his band alive from one day to the next, and there's a little bit of drama here and there with somebody inexperienced. But I just don't see a whole lot that sets this apart. So the reason why I'm a little down, I'm a lot down on this episode is so one of the hallmarks of Trek is working together to solve a problem. And there were large portions of time where they had just resigned themselves to die. No hope, no desire to work together when there were solutions on hand. And the best solution they could come up with all their advanced technology was because somebody was essentially bluffing them. They said, I will destroy you, but hadn't demonstrated any of that. The only demonstration they had of any lethality was when they tried to run away from the space buoy and got a little bit of radiation. So yeah, they have warp capability and the ability to emit radiation, but we don't have a lot of other demonstration here to really clarify the threat. There's no skirmish, there's no battle, and I understand there's no budget for that either. But at least giving us some sort of idea other than here's this big geometric shape that we don't understand and let's just lay down and die. And then also having the crew not only fail to work together to come up with a solution. Scotty does nothing. Spock does very little. Everybody's so defeatist and hopeless, and somebody even gets kicked off the bridge because they can't handle it. It just doesn't work for me.
I think there's two.
I actually love.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, I always still love that.
Yeah, no, I feel like there's two sides to this episode. Like there is the like I say, the first half where they're playing more about the interpersonal drama, and the actual sort of problem side of it has kind of taken a back seat in terms of the script. And when it finally does kind of get to the point where it should matter, they kind of completely cut and go to a completely different style of episode. But I kind of feel like I'm the needle here. Like I'm hearing your arguments, and I'm very easily swayed. So Stars is going, I'm like, I love this episode. Dad's talking like, I hate this episode. Like, I don't quite know where to swing at the moment because you both raise really good points.
No, I loved Bailey going crazy, and I usually hate it. Like in previous watches, I'm like, this is so because I like my professionals. It's like if you're not going to be a pro, get off the fucking bridge. But if Dave Bailey wasn't in this episode, this would be like TNG, where everyone is like calm, cool, and collected, and they have it all together. And
We're
it's
gonna
like,
die. That's fine.
no,
We'll just stand here and do it.
I said in the watch long, if we had 30 seconds to live and we're all on the bridge together, like, would we have our shit together or would we be doing some like weird shit because we're about to die? And I actually like that he lost it. It underpinned, it may have taken too long to get there. Like after the 12th comment, maybe someone should have pulled him aside and been like, all right, buddy. But the fact that he finally does lose it, I do enjoy. All right. Two bits of trivia.
Go.
This is normally Idol's domain, but I have them lined up. A, who can tell me what substance was Tranya for the filming?
It looked like high pulp orange juice.
It looked too brown for that.
Is it, like,
I'm
did
gonna
they have
guess like
Sunny
milky
D
coffee.
then? Sorry, go on.
No, I don't think they would have.
I don't think so.
It looked like really
Dan,
milky coffee to me.
Dan was very close. Grapefruit juice, which Clint Howard did
Oh.
not enjoy, but he had to pretend like he did. And my second piece of trivia, Dave Bailey was one of the finalists to play him was Bruce Mars, who plays an infamous one-off character in TOS. Can anyone name him?
Bruce Mars.
Oh,
I mean, that's a name you definitely have in a science fiction
Robert
show.
Mars.
I'll give you a hint. They're after me Lucky Charms.
Oh no! Really?
Really?
Fucking
Finnegan?
Finnegan? Shit!
Oh my god.
Wow.
So I thought I don't know his name now, but the guy that played Bailey, I thought he did pretty well. Actually, and when he loses it there and he starts yelling at him, "What are y'all, robots?" Like that was actually good acting, I thought. So
Yeah. That's some classic
Yeah.
60s, like, I'm losing my shit.
The only part of Bailey's arc I don't really like is like he's suddenly like, oh yeah, I'm the best man to go on the Phasaris. Like I will make mistakes and I'll do things. I kind of felt like it made sense, but it all seemed to be a little too perfect. Like I don't know, it's like, oh, you just brought on the right person to be the right kind of fuck up here.
Well,
Hey.
it's almost like it's a TV show.
Well, okay, fine. Maybe I like things a little messier. Maybe, you know.
So before we started, Dan's like, "Oh yeah, I watched this on like repeat as a kid." So I'm like, "Oh, he's gonna love it," and then we're gonna like critically break it down, and he's like,
Yeah.
No.
Well, yeah, here I'm glad I had y'all to sit through it with, and it was fun because I was able to spend it with you, but
You
there
sound
were
like you're
such
reading
long
like
stretches
this
of
is the
time.
end. Like it's like I'm glad I was here with you, but never
Yeah.
fucking again. I'm not doing this.
Well, you've already kicked me off for my bad my bad Romulan puns. The so my rose-colored glasses had edited out the vast swaths of hopelessness and nothing that are padding out the middle of this episode, so that I only remembered the best part, which is the end of it when they meet Balok and they find out his true nature and they actually exchange and have some diplomacy and all the things that I want to see in a Star Trek. That's what I remembered about this. Difficult to sit through though.
Some more fun facts. Where's my browser gone?
Are they
There it is. This was written by Jerry Soule, who also wrote This Side of Paradise and Whom Gods
Dude,
Destroy.
this is like when the cold open goes 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You never give us the director this late into our Trek track.
Yeah, we'll cue the title screen in a minute. There's another 40 minutes of episode to go now. And it's directed by Joseph Sargent. This is the only thing he did for Star Trek TOS, but I believe he had some future involvement somewhere along the line, but not in a directorial capacity. And that's all my fun facts. There was some cut lines. If you knew the line, I think you mentioned it, Auto, where Sulu says, like, I knew he would. Out of random, there was a cut line where Balok said, we grant you 1 minute, and it was kind of cut, and they didn't cut out Sulu's line as well. And the reason the episode, because originally this was the first episode to be produced after the first two pilots, so after Where No Man Has Gone Before, this was actually the next one. The reason that it didn't air till like episode 10 is because the VFX just took so long to do. They had the cube, they had the sphere, and Balok, and all the kind of weird effects for, back in 1967. Like, there was a lot to do, so they had to do a lot more VFX work and push it in favour of episodes such as The Naked Time and Shore Leave. Oh no, not Shore Leave. I don't know.
It's naked time.
There's I think it's season 1, Strange New Worlds, where you hear Ethan Peck's voice, but the video, it's like his mouth isn't moving. So even today, they're not immune to those little.
God, that happens so often. I always look for that. If someone's talking and they've got their back to the camera, I look to see if you can see the jaw moving. Like a lot of the times you don't. It's really bad.
Yeah, it
all
gets
right.
really awkward in Thunderbirds, doesn't it?
I think they intentionally shoot that stuff as B-roll so that they can do rewrites without having to call the actors back in now.
Yeah, probably.
It's pretty much a common tactic. So.
Yeah. And talk about the awesome ADR for Clint Howard, by the way. Clint Howard's first Star Trek appearance as well, like the first of many, 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 like even going far back as like this year's Strange New Worlds, like still doing it for Star Trek.
He was great in that as well. Like
Yeah.
he turns up, and I'm happy to see him every time.
Yeah. As a Ferengi, as an Orion, as just a war veteran, or as a small child.
We need to
dishing
get him to
out
be a
questionable
Klingon
drinks.
now. Get to be a Klingon.
Oh yeah, you could, yeah. Okay, best and worst moments, please.
So I want to back up a bit.
Okay, where are we?
Yeah, so I agree, Dan. At one point, it starts to drag, but I don't think it happens early. I think early on they nail the pacing because we start with this high energy, high octane, all hands to battle stations for I
Mhm.
don't know what 10, 12 minutes maybe,
The whole
fighting the
first
little
act,
cube.
no doubt. Yep.
And I'm starting to think, it's going almost a little bit too long. But then when they get out of that situation, they do a nice long cool down period where you have Kirk and Bones in his ready room. Like you hear the voice in Bailey on the comm in the background is a nice little touch of like that's not a normal Star Trek thing, but it's a normal like maybe on the submarine you'd hear it or something like that. Uh, Talking about like the salad and which comes back later on the bridge with him scolding McCoy and I think the pacing works in the first 60% maybe before it starts to drag. So, for them having zero plot going into this, I think they did their best to make it watchable up until whatever. So,
Any further business, gentlemen?
And now you talk.
And now you talk. Yeah.
now you can best and worst
Okay, okay.
this.
Best or worst moments. Let's start with me. I'm going to start for a change. So I'm getting in there. I'm getting there because I haven't got a lot, and I don't want you guys to take it. My favourite moment, I think, was definitely the Kirk and McCoy dialogues from sickbay to the turbo lift to the ready room. Every moment between the two of them was just
Boyce
golden.
and Pike.
Yeah, Boyce and Pike. Yeah. No, it was really good. Like,
Maybe like the cereal than those two, which I appreciated.
yeah, and the moment they had a bit of a confrontation, and then Kirk apologizes, which is like you get a moment of like healing there, like showing like, yeah, okay, I had an outburst and we deal with it. But you get that almost like Wrath of Khan-esque dialogue in the turbo lift, which I was surprised about. I was like, oh wow, this show has matured their relationship quite far, like even more than Kirk and Spock. So I kind of appreciated that. My worst moment, I'm gonna give you three guys a bone because this isn't the worst moment, but it's my worst moment. Is Janice Rand randomly turning up on the bridge as like, I made everyone coffee. Never mind, we're all gonna die here. I've warmed up my phaser here.
I
Big
want to die
Neelix energy.
caffeinated.
Yeah, little Neelix energy there. Yeah. just like, oh, I made you coffee. Never mind, we're dying. What's been happening? I haven't been paying attention. I've just been really like working on this coffee. And here you go, Captain. There you go. Dan. Best and worst moments, please.
Yeah, you stole my worst moment because my worst moment was giving the female officers on duty absolutely nothing to do but serve coffee and manage the telephone switchboard. Best moment. I mean, clearly, what stuck out in my mind was the last 5 minutes, actually meeting and exchanging on a real, not a superficial level with a alien entity, was what made this a true Star Trek episode. In the end. And in the beginning, certainly a lot of high drama, excellent submarine battle. But my worst moment is a very long moment because it was like the 12 or so minutes that they were being towed, and
Wait,
so,
which tow scene? Because there are multiple tow scenes in this.
They're towed by that little the Team Rocket League car.
Was this paid by was this sponsored by a recovery company somewhere? Do you reckon there are adverts and then it's like, get trucks, tow trucks. They'll get you across
We
the
can
gulf.
tow the Enterprise.
Yes.
This was absolutely going to be my worst moment as well, so I'm just going to add on to the point. I was checking the time on how long this episode is. It's like 50 minutes. I'm like, you could have easily cut 5 to 7 minutes of just like pure reaction shot and padding. You could have easily done that.
Oh,
It would
so
have been a
many
way
reaction
tighter,
shots.
better episode. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's it. Yeah, just a really, really strong stretch that suffered from lack of editing and there's too many significant glances. But yeah.
Okay. Auto, best and worst moments.
Stars.
Stars, best and worst moments, please.
I'm all locked in,
All right.
so you take whatever you want.
All right. My best moment would have to be just. So this is like what, episode 4? What was the filming order?
This is
This was a third one after the two pilots, Cage and Mantram.
third film, 10th aired.
Okay, so yeah. In which case, like for this only being like their third episode filmed together, fucking Nimoy and Shatner are just bouncing off each other instantly. Like these two have just that instantaneous chemistry, to the point where it's like, and it's like, guess what? I made the joke of just suck each other's dicks over. Guess what? They immediately sell Kirk and Spock as like these two have been on the ship together for years. They trust each other implicitly, so that when Kirk says you can't go over, I need you here. It's like, no, I legitimately believe that Kirk believes and trusts in Spock that much that he's like, I understand your desire for scientific inquiry, but like you are so reliable and dependable. I need you here on this delicate, time. And I just love the little interplay between chess versus poker, just like that instant flip, that thing of because chess is just like a backbone, arguably, of like Kirk and Spock's relationship. I think they introduced playing it together in When No One's Gone Before, right? If I'm remembering correctly. So like the fact that they TOS is lighter on continuity, but the fact that they kind of call back to that moment, and it's very clear that that's a kind of a fundamental thing that they understand. And then he challenges Spock on that, and he kind of challenges him to raise his game and think about these things in a three-dimensional way. Which again, like this really does feel like it calls forward to Wrath of Khan in a lot of ways. I imagine probably like Nicholas Meyer was watching this a lot when he did his watch through TOS. So I just love that shit. I love that interplay. I was gonna probably pick Kirk and McCoy because I love that relationship as well, but you already saw it.
I get that.
Worst moment? Yeah, you got there first. You know what? I have to agree with Dan, but take it off to a different point. Like Uhura gets like a lot of like, she's in the background a lot, and she's always like slumped over asleep or like kind of silently working.
At one
And I'm
point,
like,
Sulu
can you
is
not give
asleep
her a
in the
line or
in the
two?
break room, isn't he? He's just like
Yeah, which is hilarious. I think that's really funny. But like I think like they gave like Sulu and Bailey and like Scotty and everyone lines, but Uhura got like almost nothing. And like even if it was just like one or two funny lines, like Michelle Nichols is an amazing actress. Utilize her, please. But that's kind of like de rigueur for '60s Star Trek. You can't really you can hold it against it, but it's like it's like trying to complain about the furniture. Like it's like, well, I can't change it right now.
it's moon chairs all the way down.
Absolutely.
Auto. Lock them in.
All right, I have two worst. First of all, the circular playing cards. I thought, no.
Talk about poker, man. I'm glad you brought it up because
No, I'll just reiterate because I was gonna say it anyway. How do you have two tow truck scenes in the same episode, and they took like 10 minutes each? Like half your episode is just the Enterprise being towed. Like that's the most boring thing I can imagine.
hauled away as garbage.
Yeah. And then, yeah, my real worst is, and it's probably like a hindsight thing because you already know what the Balok reveal is going to be. But the fact that the animatronic puppet work, even with like the heavy waveform over that, you could tell it was artificial, and it sort of gave away the plot. Like, oh, maybe that's not like a real alien, but I don't know. Aliens were so bad back then. Some of them, they were just like dogs with a hairband or whatever. So, I doubt anyone would have noticed that. But looking back on it, it's like a hindsight thing. Best moment, which never would have been in the past for me. So maybe I'm just getting old, but I really liked Bailey. I liked him losing his mind when he snapped. That was the best acting he did.
Yeah.
Right before they hauled him off the bridge, and
That
then
is garbage.
yeah, and then the fact that they let him back on the bridge, it's like we're gonna die in a minute. Like, does anyone really care if he comes back?
Yeah.
Like, at least let him face death like with other humans. So I didn't like him in past rewatches, but I really liked it this time. So kudos to him.
Awesome. Okay, right. Going to the pre-rating. So this is a new thing we've been starting to do in the last few weeks. We've been rating it before, we've been watching it, and then going back to it. The one I am most intrigued by. Dan, you gave this a 7.
I did.
What are you giving it now? Oh, no, wait, sorry.
So
No, stop. Stars. What are we rating this out of? What is our rating criteria? My apologies.
Gentlemen, how many dark captainly areolas out of 10 are we giving this episode?
Oh, I'm just so excited about the areolas.
Are we going with?
It's like they're cloaked. They're so light. You can't even.
Are we going with? No. Are we going with dark captainly or tan? Because they were very.
What color
We'll go
is
with
Corbomite?
tan.
What color is Corbomite?
Tan captainly
Let's get the
areolas.
Pantone paint like swatch out, and we'll match the color to the tone.
Do you think he went to one of those places that matches the paint and then just like, can you make this? All right, sorry. Right, Dan.
You made my week, Stars.
I love you too.
Well, so I need to be careful here because I know this is a beloved episode. This is a defining episode for Kirk's personality.
No. You do
He's
you.
a
Yeah.
You
gam-
do you.
You do you.
I will. I will.
Be honest. Be true to
I will.
yourself.
I will.
One.
So, so my major concerns with this episode, Bailey is pointed as being inexperienced but still having potential, and Kirk is portrayed as having fulfilled that potential. Bailey is a hothead, a numbskull, and Kirk essentially gambled with the entire ship's lives with an empty hand. Absolutely nothing to back up his gambit. No backup plan, no help from his fellows. Rejected Spock's help, which was helpless. We're going to die. You knock over your king. You sacrifice your king. Scotty, engines. Nobody. No. So his crew was ineffective and losing their shit. I don't see a whole lot of merit, and Kirk will prove himself for sure. He will have the upper hand. But what really gets me is that he does not know this alien species, first contact with them, and he's making his own bluff up based on whether this was a human opponent with human ideals. There's a small argument where, okay, now they know everything about us because they've reviewed our computer systems, but seeing who we are on paper doesn't translate to live diplomacy like what Kirk is trying to pull off here. I think he was reckless. I think his crew was insubordinate, and I would probably downgrade this to a 5.
5. I think it's the most passionate anyone's ever been about an episode.
So when you
I
say
feel
Yes,
betrayed.
yes,
I feel
strength of-
betrayed.
No, it's fine,
I
that's
had a
fine.
memory of this episode that was so much better than what I just
I'm
watched.
sorry we've hurt you. You
hey,
didn't have to
no,
help tonight.
we've all been there
okay.
before.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Now,
Unexpected
let me ask
was
you,
the
when you
one for
say
me, I think. Sorry, go on, Aldo.
yeah, when you say insubordinate, I think we commented while we were watching, like everyone in the first few minutes is kind of flippant. They all have like little lines back and forth. Are you talking about that? Or are you talking about like later on in
Bailey.
the?
I'm talking about Bailey,
Okay.
trained Starfleet officer, conducting himself the way he did, and a full mature adult. He's not the kid. He's not the junior member of the bridge. So
Also,
I mean, that's kind of TOS's calling card because I love to bash. I love to bash Obsession for that. When they get eaten by a fucking cloud, all they gotta do is they have 30 seconds to fire the phaser. No one can do it. So the whole "we're completely inept" thing is like a good through line through TOS. So
That's why
Uh,
Kirk like becomes admiral afterwards. Like, well, he clearly got them all out eventually.
yeah. The crux of my Kirk nipple rating here is they go into this with absolutely zero plot, but they make it watchable, and I can't tell if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Like the balls to go in with such a thin plot is obviously negative, but the fact that they still spin silver, maybe if not gold, is impressive. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it drags enough in the later sections to the point where I can't rate it too high. Like just in terms of watchability, slice of life stuff, Bailey, certain parts of him that I like, I want to give it like an 8 something. But you can't give an 8 something to a show where you're like, this is actually kind of boring. So I pre-rated 7.5. I'll go 7.6 because it was actually better than my memory, even if it wasn't like a great episode. So 7.6 dark Kirk nipples out of 10. Whatever it was, sorry.
stars.
All right, so yeah, I've never seen this episode all the way through. The only thing I knew was the reveal at the end, and I knew that Bailey was like whatever. I was not expecting all of the slice of life stuff. I was not expecting just how much of the blueprint would already be here for my favorite Star Trek movie. Like, guess what? I'm going to wear it on my sleeve. Wrath of Khan is my favorite Star Trek movie, so that's probably going to bias my my judgment here. I am going to go with 8 Captain
Ooh,
Kirk's
wow.
Captain Lee Areolas out of 10 for this because. Yes, there are large swaths of this episode where nothing is happening. Yes, Bailey probably shouldn't have been allowed on the bridge. But if I discounted every episode that does these cardinal sins, I wouldn't like many episodes of Star Trek. Not to disparage you or anything, Dan. I think you have absolutely valid complaints, and I think that like I'm obviously coming at it from a different viewpoint of never having seen this episode before, so I'm probably being kinder, whereas you're more inclined to
what
be
you need
harsh
to
because
do
you have
is now
good sentimental values.
watch it as many times as Dan has, come back 5 years later and watch it again, and then you'll be on his level. You're like, what the shit?
Oh.
Maybe so. But no, man, it's like when I think of this episode, I'm not going to think of the towing. I'm going to think of the Kirk
Exactly.
McCoy dialogues. I'm gonna think of the Kirk and Spock dialogues. I'm gonna think of everyone being relaxed, but I still think competent. Yeah, guess what? Like they can't do much in the face of this power, but I don't really hold that against them because it is explicitly set up to be an almost godlike being. Like sometimes space exploration is about being up against a threat that you can't do anything to and working out how to deal with that. And there's something very human about accepting that inevitability. So yeah, 8 for me. I'd give this a happy 8. I was very, very pleasantly surprised by how much I enjoyed it.
You did
8 what?
8 Dark Captainly Areolas out.
You did
So
pre-rate this at 8 as well, so you've hit your marks. And I pre-rated it at 7. I feel like I'm going to surprise someone here. I'm going to say it's a 7.2 because I feel that point 2 exceeded my expectation. Because, like you said, the dialogue, the bits I enjoyed more first half than second half. Yeah, you're right. Second half it dragged because they literally were dragged for the second time. Hey. But yeah, the first half would, like you say, with the dialogue, with all the bits in between, the slice of life on the ship, things like that. The tension when things are happening for the first time, even though not a lot's happening, was gripping enough that it was watchable. But I feel like it got let down by second half for just doing the same thing again because, like you say, they didn't have much plot. And then the weird heel turn where it just suddenly goes like, "I'm a friendly alien, come and drink my strange grapefruit juice." Hey, like it's just a bit like, okay. And then they end the episode. Nothing more. It's like we've got rid of Bailey and that's it. Done. Move over. Next adventure. Never see these people again.
We dumped Dollard.
We did.
Yeah, hold on. We just skipped over the fact that like they're just gonna let Bailey go off like on his own with someone's ship and hope that they return him at some point.
I don't know if you were paying attention, but he clearly proved himself to be an extremely competent and resourceful and smart Starfleet officer. He'll be fine.
The best ambassador of the species, yes.
Yes,
exactly.
I like the line.
I need to look up Memory Beta and see if he appears in any book, like his Adventures with Balok. Someone must have written
there
that.
is, yes. I think I've
There's
read
a web.
some
There's
stuff.
a web show in there. I feel like there's a podcast web show.
Oh my god. That distracted me so much I completely forgot what I was gonna say. Oh no, yeah, there's a line that Kirk says, just says like, yeah, we'll be losing a mediocre officer, but we'll get a good one in return. And in my head I'm thinking, so you're getting rid of Bailey, you'll get transfer an officer you want. Oh no, what you mean is you'll get Bailey back better. Oh, I see. Oh, I got the wrong end of that.
Had to make room for Chekhov.
Yeah, you'll move it over for Chekhov, yeah.
Well, guess what? We checked Bailey off the list.
All right, big.
Yeah. Guess what? I got a rep from my boy Big.
Yeah. Anyway, that brings that episode to a nice 7.0 in total between the
Love
four
you,
of
Stella.
us. There we are. It was nearly, until I rated it was a 6.9, so you can thank me for ruining that joke. Anyway, we'll be back in a couple of weeks with the next Star Trek Trek. Not sure what we're doing yet. We might have a bit of discussion. We might move it around. We might flip some tables. We might see what's going on. We'll see. Also wants to do some really hard-hitting drama, some serious shit.
No, you know what? The 2 we did today actually pleasantly surprised me. So maybe we'll keep on slogging.
Okay. I'll keep on slogging.
Keep on slogging. That's our motto. Star Trek Trek. Keep on slogging. I'll put that in the intro next time.
We need to workshop that.
We do, yeah. Anyway, we're back in a couple of weeks. If you're watching streaming, come and join us on the 9th for the award show. If you're watching this on YouTube later on, you've missed it, but go watch the replay anyway. We'll see you soon. Live long and prosper. And ta-ra.